Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Now Debate. I am Jared Walters, today once again joined by my great partner in crime, Mr. Richard Oliver, and tonight we have the pleasure of welcoming energy worker and healer Dawn Walker to the channel. Dawn is an energy healer and works with different energies and elementals, and has a very, very interesting story to tell, and some conversation which I think is going to come up tonight, which is going to be very relevant to what people are feeling right now, going through the pressures that we're all facing in life, and all the craziness that is happening around each of us and happening around the world. First of all, Dawn, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, thanks for having me.
I thank you for coming on. It's lovely to have you. Richard, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. I just we're trying to avoid being flooded at the minute, so it's a bit manic my end. Unfortunately, we're having some bad weather here in South Wales, and yeah, I've seen animals lining up 2 by 2, so it must be bad. So,
well,
just gotta keep an eye on it.
I think Noah's building his ark on the roof of my house at the moment, so. And I think my pet dog Bagel is helping him. So if there is any disruption to the show, guys, it is because of the storm. Not welcoming it in or nothing, but just so you guys know that we have, when we've had bad weather on before, we have sometimes had issues. But if there are, just bear with us, and they will be corrected in due course. So Dawn, you have a fascinating story to tell. I know that Richard, because I know he hasn't learned much about your good self. I know me and you have talked very briefly about your background, and I have been reading the PDF document that you have kindly drawn up, or ebook that you've drawn up for people to have a read of, which is in the link in the description below this video. So please tell us a little bit about yourself and sort of, tell us a bit about yourself and what it is you do and where it is you come from.
Sure, absolutely. So I was born and raised in a very small town in the United States in Illinois. And I have always had activities energetically my whole entire life, experiences. And I was raised in an environment where, in a culture where that's not really spoken about and talked about. So I noticed very quickly when I would speak about it that people would say, "You're off your rocker, you don't know what you're talking about," and I would keep it to myself. But I was very vividly able to see people's lives roll in front of me if I were to accidentally brush up against somebody in a grocery store, and people that had already passed upon, they would come visit me. So I had a lot of energetic things happening. We had hauntings in our house. We had a cat that would sleep on my head to protect me at night, and things always happening as a young child. As I got older, I just rose up and maneuvered through the corporate realm and continued to study energy modalities. And that was my sanctuary, my hobby, and continued to cultivate certifications and backgrounds in energy work. Although while I was working first and foremost in front of different audiences, with lifestyle of management of different businesses, corporate businesses. In short, once the pandemic hit, I absolutely decided to go another direction, and I was prompted internally to stop pushing down my calling and to really come out and be an energy worker out live in front of everyone, even letting my hair down and the truth out in front of my parents, which I guarded, right? I didn't want my parents being talked about this child that could see and work with energy, now a grown adult. So privately, I've worked with people for decades, doing work as a hypnotherapist and rerouting their mind and cleaning up paranormal activity. I would privately have people reference me that knew what I was doing, close friends that were like-minded. And anytime people had issues or paranormal activity happen in and around their environment, they would contact me and I would clear them.
Go on, Rich.
No, go on, Desi.
No, I'm just thinking it's fascinating. That must have been a very, very difficult sort of jump to make, or from the outset, a lot of people would find that a difficult jump to make, and we're seeing that a lot more often now, where people are being prompted to come away from the corporate world. In many ways, we had a guest last week, Andrea, who has come out in very similar and has a very similar sort of background, but with the scientific world. We had a lady on a few months ago that's been through a very similar journey with journalism, and it's quite humbling to see, because we've worked in this now for about 8 years, coming up about 8-9 years, working obviously privately a lot more than that, but out in the open then, I suppose, in the realms of social media and that sort of thing, as Paranormal now. And it's something to see. So could you tell us a little bit about sort of that process of what you went through, sort of leaving the sort of corporate world, sort of what you did there, if you don't mind, if you can say anything about that, and sort of what the transition was and what you saw in the world whilst going through that transition?
Sure, absolutely. It was really an easy transition for me. The pandemic helped me make that decision. I was fighting it. I had a war going on within myself, not certain how to harness my abilities to share to the world. So when the opening, I saw the pandemic as an opening for all of the light workers. So even though outwardly it looked like a crash is happening and so many shifts and changes are happening, there has to be a death so that there can be a rise, right? Quote unquote.
Yeah.
And that death and what we're seeing happen globally, which did spawn the writing of my friend and I coming together for the little collective thought on the rise and power of the consciousness elemental. This is what's been going on and cultivated in society for years, the smoke and mirrors effect of what life really is. And we've always been cultured and schooled to negate the truth and talk, and it's not even taught in cultures and in school, right, that are mainstream, what our powers are in the energy world and what are the power that our consciousness holds. And it's actually covered if you look back to scientific studies that they've done in Harvard, and you can actually pull up videos for decades upon decades of the power that we hold energetically with one another, where they actually had couples that have lights turning on and off and objects flying in their home. And it was actually their energy that was creating it, right? Or where you have an energy that's coming in to try to communicate. And they've got slews of documentations, all of our governments, and access through communities that are cultivated in universities of all of this information. And I think that we've been pushed, it's supposed to be hush hush, and people didn't know how to identify with it. And now, because of the pandemic, and people are starting to awaken to the false security that was there.
I think you are seeing quite a bit of that, where people are, it's weird. It's like I've always said, when you watch the mainstream media, there's almost like a safety there. And when you start looking into information for yourself, and it can be quite a minefield, most notably we're seeing that with what's going on in America today, where there's so many different alternative sources and different ways of viewing the world, that do you find that people feel it's created a bit of a minefield, a bit of a way of, almost like the chaos has to sort of be, like you said, has to come to the surface for us to sort of look at it anew then, if that makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. It's happening everywhere. People are shifting through the shakedown. They've lost their jobs and homes. The fear has arisen, and I don't know if what was happening there, but couldn't you feel it? The second the media started cultivating the pandemic and putting it out there, and the more focus, you would walk out and you would hear the talk. And the people don't even realize that their talk creates an energy, an emotion, and their fear creates that same retroactive energy and motion. And it's like an invisible tornado that starts moving around through space and time. And it can go, if you're very powerful and you're so fearful that your mind's focused on, what do I do now? I can't feed my family. We're ruined. That energy emits at such a high and powerful frequency that it now affects the consciousness and minds of your family that's in your house. It moves through and vibrates through the homes of your neighbors for miles, and it affects and changes their minds to where they start feeling and thinking in fear, and it just cultivates this huge whirlwind and false belief system and takes down even the most powerful positive minds. Does that make sense?
So yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. That's exactly what we've been covering on this channel for, well, since it hit. And it's I don't know if how much you've looked into the work that we've done, but we have been having messages via spirit and via other beings for the last 3 or 4 years now that we've been putting it out there. And everything you just said about fear, it has come out in those types of messages. Would you agree, Rich?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talked about this on the show a couple of I think it was about a week back. I had an experience where I drove through, and I believe this in my heart, I drove through a manifestation of negativity. And there was a smell, there was a feeling, there was everything. And I've been doing this a long time, and I've come across negativity on many occasions, but that was the most powerful force, being I've come across. And I knew the instant it happened that that was a manifestation that was manifested through all this fear and on all the things that's been going on in the world. And I just thought to myself, oh no, that was probably the scariest moment of this entire pandemic for me, because I knew going through this process that this negativity and all this fear based and the media putting it out there was going to create something, right? I knew this at the beginning of this, because one of the things I did in the beginning, I made a video and I said, this is going to hold a mirror up to the world. And oh my God, it have in an incredible way. But that was the worst moment, because I thought, if that can manifest from all this, we haven't got a clue what's going on. You know, there's some real forces at work and at play in this. You know, they really are.
Absolutely. And that was an elemental, a consciousness elemental that you ran into. And the fact that you're aware enough and awake enough to recognize that, if you were driving through that and you had no idea what these experiences are, that energy would overtake your good energy. It would just literally suck it out and have you driven in fear. And then you would operate in that accordingly. And it is right now being calculated and purposely drawn, but it's also unpurposely and unconsciously being cultivated as well. And we see that show up on news channels with people that are just telling the news. Well, there's communities out there that understand the power of the collective consciousness, and they've actually scientifically proven that it's only 1.5% of the population that needs to focus on positivity and love to create such an energetic vortex of unconditional love that consciousness elemental will actually expand throughout all of consciousness. And there's a lot of energy workers that are trying to get people on the same page to do that. And in the ebook, we expound on one of the communities that are in the United States that I know of over in Iowa, that they're working on doing that. And it talks more about that. But I think the focus is now that we come together collectively and decide, I'm only going to allow positive information to come into my life so that my vibration can stay high. And I'm only going to choose praise and the power of raising my vibration with beautiful thoughts to overcome the negativity that's being cultivated in the paranormal activity that's moving throughout the world at this time. Because the only way that we can overcome it and actually shift it is through positive energy. And to give you an example of that, I have people that contact me that have paranormal activity happen in their homes. You know, there's clearly something in the corner of my closet. Every time I walk through here, I feel an energy of anger. Things are moving in my house. Something has taken over my son's cell phone. And it actually started talking through his social media account. I'll get these phone calls. And so what I do is I get myself into a place of pure unconditional love. And for me, I attach to the Holy Spirit. And for me, it's Christ consciousness. For somebody else, it can be anything else, right? But for me, I raised myself in the Holy Bible and listening to what Christ was saying about our energy and how we're prophets and how we can speak to things, but with unconditional love. So I visualize that, and I go through and travel to wherever the people send me their address, all around the world. And we just expand through that energy, offer it unconditional love, and completely clear it. And my clients just are like, I don't understand how you do that. Well, I don't even associate with that, because whatever's broken or fractioned or seems heavy and weighted in those emotions of anger and hurt or fear, once you give it the elixir of unconditional love and that vibration, it's cured. That makes sense?
Yeah, yeah, it's the technique. Yeah, it's the technique. Well, in a different context, but I've always used the same technique. When I had paranormal wheels many years ago, I used to tell my investigators to concentrate, and I used to tell the people we were helping to concentrate on a point of love.
Mhm.
And it's a great field. It's the greatest. It's the only truth there is in this world is love. It's the only truth. It doesn't lie. There's no misdemeanor with it. There's no falseness. It's the truth. It's what our creator wanted us to do with this world, was not control it, but own it and share it and just grow it with love. And I've done the same thing, and it's always worked. Every family I've helped, every family me and Jazzy have helped, and we've told them this, to use this shield of love and focus on it. The activity has just dissipated. So it's always coming back to the same thing, and that's I think that's surprising, Jazz, that isn't it?
Well, I don't want to cause any sort of offence here, but I want to make an observation, and I'm not. I don't want to get into sort of the political aspect of it. I've just watched an inauguration of a leader speaking of love, surrounded by steel girders and troops, and if that doesn't say how far what we are seeing on our television screens is removed from love, no matter who you support, who you back, it doesn't matter, right? The point, the fact that is a thing, that we've just seen that kind of like juxtaposition is something. And for the last couple of days, and I've seen different people on different alternative circles, different spiritual circles say different things are going to happen, this is going to happen, that's going to happen, and it's always come back down to this one line that keeps being repeated. And we've had it when we've done spirit box sessions, we've had it through psychic mediumship, we've had it through these discussions with different people like yourself, Dawn. Is this the loving way? And that's the question. It's like, is this fair, and is this the loving way? And it's always come back down to that question for me. It's like, you know, and yeah, sometimes, you know, people misunderstand. I think people sometimes misunderstand love, because sometimes you do have to do things in the name of love which are not easy, which are difficult. You do sometimes have to shake people out of certain thought patterns. You do have to do things that, you know, that really sort of just give people that little bit of a shock wake up call, and that can happen out of love. And it's the fact that, you know, what I've come to understand is when you start to let go of expectations of what you expect love to be, and you just know that it's there and allow yourself to feel it, it always seems to reveal itself in abundance. And it's always to a point where you can be so humbled by its very presence. And it's just, you know, that kind of hit home for me today. And I just knew, and I knew that from the very short contact that we had with you, Dawn, it felt like the information you're giving out right now is right. It feels like the timing's right for it. It feels like everything's kind of right for, because, and I didn't put the two and two together when you said about the elementals, and Rich, you talked about your experience, and that video is actually going up later this week. It's done. It's just going up later this week, where you talk about that more in depth. But that video, you know, that experience you had, because you rang me, and I was like, I almost just laughed at you and just said, what are you out doing chasing the storm? I've never heard wind like this, my friend, go home. But it had a profound effect on you, this kind of, this negative energy. And we've always talked, this is when we've talked to people on cases, we've always spoke about negative energy. You know, don't call it demons or darkness or evil. It's just negative energy. It's a negative energy force or vibration. How that manifests is immaterial, because when you achieve balance, you know, it's far easier to understand. And I want to quickly read, if that's okay, Dawn, from there's a passage here from your ebook that you kindly offered us. And I just want to sort of read this, because I think this is, on this, you've kind of hit on something which I think is really interesting, and I think it would be really interesting to explore. So is that okay if I just quickly read? It's only like 2 paragraphs.
Oh yeah, absolutely, please. Let's expand the consciousness.
This time in history marks a period of heightened global rise and power of thought elemental, as it is continuously manifesting in a multitude of ways and levels, individually and collectively, in households, communities, towns, cities, states and nations, affecting relationships of every kind. Humanity united in world happenings, yet so divided in how we think about it. Billions of people glued to their information inlets, social media, TV stations, news channels, community meetings, trying to make sense of the surrounding challenges and challenges affecting our daily lives due to the acknowledgement of pandemic, because I can't say the word because of YouTube, wondering what to believe as there are ever-changing versions continuously being realized in statements and national news updates involving the need to fact-check everything we hear, with such a feeling of uncertainty to which fact is real or fake, creating an ever-growing confusion and conflict of trust in the collective consciousness of the masses towards our current world leaders, news information inlets, social agendas, social structures, and government agendas. Emotional and financial strain upon us has collapsed in the minds and thoughts of billions of people into fear, anxiety, destructive abilities, thoughts and actions as ways to cope with the variety of changes forced upon them, inviting in more drug, alcohol use than ever before, skyrocketing criminal acts of domestic violence, theft, and heinous crimes. The events of 2020 have changed human life in the way we lead our lifestyles and parenting and relationships, schoolwork, shopping, travel, events, and gatherings permanently. It is vital that we understand and develop a realistic strategy to deal with the human thoughts and emotions arising out of information we are provided, with the spoken words expelling force into the atmosphere amongst the global changes consciously being introduced, empowering why we are bringing the comprehension of consciousness elemental to your attention to be referenced as a mindfulness focus and practice of daily integration in every area of our life. Just when I read that, I was like, yes, that was quite, for me, that was very much on the money. As to where we are, and how this awakening is taking place in people.
Absolutely. And a lot of that, I see my friend Sherry Harkness Colby in it. We wrote this collectively together, and she's a mindfulness coach, and she actually had created a program that's still being implemented in Oregon, United States, for drug addicts and alcoholics, a different viewpoint, a way to look at life and really get into the fundamentals of what they're feeling and where it's coming from, because we're also noticing a lot of people that are being impressed with this. We are all empathic in nature, and the ones that are really strongly empathic and great healers and just so creative and collective and can feel everyone, they get crippled.
Yeah.
Absolutely crippled by it, and they don't know how to cope, so then they fall into the drugs and alcohol, right?
Yeah.
I was there personally myself, raised in it, and around it, and I went down in that deep mire of it myself. And when I pulled myself out of it and really looked around and analyzed and saw this movement happening, it really shows you the paradigm of how strong it is, how strong media is, and how much we need to really cover ourselves and protect ourselves from information, right? And you were saying it, Jared, unconditional love without expectation. You know, expectation is the deceit.
Yeah.
If we put an expectation out there, we're not free in the moment, and it causes a deceit and miscommunication everywhere. We have to omit expectation. But yes, everything that you spoke there is a rise and a call of action to all of the people that feel empowered and are our so-called leaders and world leaders in this world. Where are you at putting together and implementing a consciousness program that is started and seeded at the beginning of childhood and implemented in all homes and school systems to let us understand what our mind breeds, what our emotions breed, and the power of our words? Because if that was actually being exercised in all of our leaders that are in positions around the world right now, they understood that power, one would think that these programs would already be enforced and that they would be enforcing them if they were the true leaders of peace and unconditional love, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm actually calling out, and I am asking for leaders to stand up, and all of the workers that have written all of the powerful books on the energy work of chakras and how energy moves and breathes, all of the theologians and philosophers to start coming together and talking about this and creating a program worldwide that we can adopt as parents and as children to talk about and recreate this world. Because a breakthrough is coming, and the time of peace is coming.
Well, you have my vote on that, and anything I can do to help personally with that, I would be more than happy to get involved. Absolutely, you would have the support of this channel, and we would definitely love to get on board. And it's funny because that's kind of what we were talking earlier, Rich, where we were talking about how people are feeling during all this at the moment with all like the lockdowns and different things. And I said, and I've said on this channel before, like I'm registered blind, so I do have vision. So I do have an operatable amount of vision. But when, it works, how can I put it? The world has to work a certain way so I can work a certain way, because I've adapted my vision personally to how other people behave. When 2020 problems hit, it was a very difficult time for me personally, because with people's social distancing and everything else like that, and having to wear masks and all the rest of it, I couldn't see people's facial expressions. I couldn't be physically close to anything, and obviously if I'm 2 meters away from someone, I can't see them, and it was very difficult. And so I was faced with a choice, and I'm just talking about me personally here, from a complete, I was faced with that choice. I couldn't change my behaviour to, because I couldn't carry on the way I was going, because if I did, it would impact others and it would have a chain reaction that way. So it was like, how can I empower myself? And obviously working with yourself, Richard, and working with many others. That's why, we put our efforts into doing this and building this channel, because it felt as if, we needed to give people who are working in this realm, whether it's to do with energy, whether it's to do with healing, psychic phenomena, UFOs, all of it kind of connects in. All of it connects into the mystery of human consciousness and what it is, why we have these really sometimes subtle, sometimes in your face, but always strange experiences that we have that are often, not so much these days, but in our history, especially going back, so to the 1990s, so like 20 years ago, were swept largely, apart from fringe communities, under the carpet. And it is now coming to that point where a lot of this information is now publicly being made available, and probably through the hard work of just individuals. I'm not talking about world leaders here. I'm just talking about individuals and the different things that different people have put out into the public domain. And yeah, there is that kind of need to collectively come together and collectively start to explore, these other realms and these other things that have an impact. Anyone who's lost a loved one will have experienced in some way, shape or form, whether they like to admit it or not, that impact in some way. And, it will manifest in many different ways in accordance with many different belief systems. And it will work on many different levels. But yeah, absolutely. You would have my support on that. So could you tell us what an elemental is? Because I know you describe it a little bit in the document, but just for the people watching.
Yeah, so actually I came up more with my interpretation of what a consciousness elemental is, because they do have elemental in the dictionary, but they do not express what a consciousness elemental is. So in the dictionary, an elemental is related to or embodying the powers of nature. So a thunderstorm is an inevitable outcome of battling elemental forces, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, as a noun, an elemental is a supernatural entity or force thought to be physically manifested by occult means. Gods and elementals look out upon the worshippers. Under Reddit.com, they have elementals by all sensibilities are immortal. They do not feed, drink, or even reproduce. They are simply born and exist. While fire elementals are born in fire, they can somehow be flooded or tossed into a body of water, and the power is still there, and it becomes a water elemental. So it's energy wavelengths that move and can increase in power. So consciousness elemental is something that starts an invisible, non-solid energy form with movement and purpose. It's created both unconsciously and consciously through concentrated thought and engagement of emotions. That's the key there. Think and your emotions start getting engaged in that thought. It is a second dimensional, emotionally charged vibration. It is self-sustained, active, thought form that invisibly moves in the atmosphere. It's a conscious intent that pulls and attracts the same frequencies of its intention, creating an energetic vortex that expands and gains speed and power similar to a tornado in the invisible realm of energy creation. In a consciousness elemental is also a thought that is believed to be real.
Mm-hmm.
And it is a repetitive, intentional and unintentional thoughts that prompt the human words, emotions, and actions to manifest actual reality. So to expand on that, I want to give you a couple ideas of how energy move and some real life experiences that I've witnessed.
Okay.
Okay. So these are just a couple ideas. I was working as a nurse's aide, and a person died. Their vibration and their elemental was actually above their head. We had to clean up their body, and I went to lean over to pick up his side, and my head went into his energy, that buzz that was above his body. And I said to my coworker, "Oh my gosh, he's right here." He's right here in a buzzy energy. I said, "Just stick your hand in it." And he was there. So he had moved and transformed. That's just one example.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was sitting with a friend in his home, and we were having a conversation, and he has a very large home, and one of our friends was down in the basement, and my friend has had much time to harness his energy and expand his body and his consciousness and really see throughout wherever he was, what he owned, his property, he had a vision of, an expansion of. So he moved in the consciousness. And we were talking, and he started laughing. I said, "What are you laughing at?" And he said, "Well, so-and-so is going to be running upstairs very quickly here because I just flung a glass off of a table in front of her." So all of a sudden, here she came flying up into the room that we were in with fear on her face. And I started laughing, and I said, what's wrong? And she said, I kid you not, this glass just flew off of the middle of the table, you know, right in front of my eyes. And we started laughing, and I just said, so-and-so was moving that energy. So he was practicing and understood the energy of consciousness and how you can actually move and change it. Another elemental is, I was at a Pink Floyd concert with a girlfriend a couple decades back, and when music mutates and moves energy, it's very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It invokes feelings in you, does it not? To where you can be in one mood, but then you'll put on a song and it starts moving, and the reverberation of the guitar,
Yeah.
it just carries you, right?
Yeah.
So here, all of us are at this Pink Floyd concert, and I was probably about the only person that wasn't on drugs at that concert, you know. And I'm looking around, and the second they went on, it started raining, and the rain got heavier and heavier. And when the music went, and they were just jamming, and the guys were getting into it, the rain let loose. The elemental moved up into the sky, and it just started pouring around us. And they went and broke on intermission. The second they broke on intermission, the rain stopped. The second they stopped playing music. And for 15 minutes, we had, for the full intermission, there was no rain. And they all got up on stage, and the second they hit those drums and they started, the rain just started pouring again. So it's that powerful, and it moves in so many different ways, and you can actually harness it and move energy and move the consciousness elemental. And once you get to that point, you realize, wow, I can move energy and influence many people and many things, right? And, you know, one more is we would cultivate this environment. I used to work with children, and we would cultivate that were so-called had ADHD and problems, different mental incapacities that they couldn't easily integrate into the social norm in school and public school.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would work with these children in an after-school program, and I did this for a few years, and we created an intentional elemental and environment for those children. And I would give them a freedom in my classroom, and they would learn and I would have everyone's attention. And unbeknownst to me, it was a vibration that I was giving out because I gave them unconditional love. That was my pact. In here, unconditional love, do and say whatever you want, and be a part of this play. And I would always create a learning play where everybody got to jump in and be themselves. And if they got distracted with their so-called ADHD and had to drum off, we would use that drum roll as part of the play. We would implement them. And before I knew it, I had all of their teachers lined up one day and ready to shake my hand, and I had no idea what was going on. The teachers were there, the new people that were there. They had never in years been able to get any of those children to pay attention. And they had no idea what was happening. And they said, my God, you must just be anointed. But it wasn't. It was the intentional love. It was the intentional love umbrella that I just swooped them up in. So that's a couple ideas, and it's so powerful that we can cultivate that in our communities.
I've seen that. Go on, Rich.
Yeah, well, I did art with the local councils, and I had to do a theatre play, and I had about 40 children. It might have been more, actually. And this woman from the community first group said, "Oh, you won't be able to handle them. You won't be able to handle them." She said they'll tear the place apart, to pieces. And I was like, well, give them, we've got to try. This is what this is. It's a community. It's a community hall. Let's get the community in. And there must have been nearly 80% of them were diagnosed with this and diagnosed with that. and all this, and I got them in there, and I said, right guys, we're gonna paint this backdrop, and I showed them how to mix colours, and I got down on the floor with them, and I was painting, and they were angels, right? Because, and I honestly, I think it was because of my attitude towards them, because I love kids, you know, I'm a big kid, so I love kids, right? We're on the same wavelength, right? When it comes to children, I'm on the same wavelength. As soon as I'm around children, I become a child, and we painted this most beautiful backdrop, and it was incredible. And I had them, and they did not once did they play up. And the woman came in, and she said, and she looked at it, and she said, "That's not what I wanted." And it changed everyone's attitudes in that room. And I flipped, and the way I was with them children had an impact on their behaviour. And it is true, that really is, you know, that really is true. It really does make a difference. Your behavior towards someone is just, it's always received. It's always, you know, if you go at someone with, and you look at them and you look down at them, you're going to get the same response. If you show them that compassion and you reach their level and you're not talking down to them, you know, I've had this conversation, what you just said about teaching children in schools. I've had this conversation with teachers, and I've said, why don't you try meditation? Why don't you try spiritual understanding? You know, and I've said this in a video just not so long back. Meditation one day will be taught in schools, and the problems of the world will be so different just from that teaching, just from expressing and having a look what's inside our minds, and opening that window and communicating, and all these prejudices and these things they'll just disintegrate. And you know, it really does. What you just said there, I know it works because I've done it. I've been there.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and it equalizes any kind of paranormal activity that's happening. And it's so diverse, isn't it, how energy can move? And then, you know what? When we really look at it, I realized that they just didn't know. We're all big kids out here trying to figure it out with our senses and our minds. And the leaders and the people that have led the communities and built up colonies and built up cities and states and nations, they only operated out of the consciousness and the tools that they had available to them. So it's not anyone's fault. But now we have these conscious tools that we understand with all of these great leaders that are teaching about the power of unconditional love. And like you said, Richard, meditation. And Jared, you said not having an expectation attached, and all of that is such a beautiful recipe to invite love and change.
I know.
Absolutely.
It works, and like what you said about the weather, I've had my own experiences with that, where we've done certain things in the past, and the way the weather has responded to it has just been so very similar experiences I have had with regards to that side of it, where we've done certain things, and you know, time as well. I never forget going to do a ceremony at one point a good few years back, and we literally went to this place up one of the mountains near us, and it takes normally 25 minutes to get there, 25 minutes to get back. We were there in long enough to take the dogs for a walk and to sit around a campfire and we've got about 45 minutes worth of video from that event. We left the house to go to the mountain place at 5 o'clock and got back 45 minutes later. And there's no way we did all that in 45 minutes. You know, I've walked that trail several times, and it's taken me at least an hour and a half each time. you know, to go up there, take a bit of a walk around with the dogs. It's not as if we were rushing. It's not as if we were rushing. We did sort of go at pace to get up there so we could meet people on time. But, you know, literally, even if you factor the 10, 15 minutes it took to us to get up there, because we were going at pace, so we probably cut about 10 minutes off, it still wouldn't have been this. I have seen it happen where it's affected throughout time as well, you know, where, and we've had this on the channel where we've had time loops. I had a experience where my partner and I were driving over a mountain road near where I live, and there's one crossroads on this mountain road, and we've put it up on the channel. It is on the channel. It's about 2 or 3 years old, the video, and it was literally we left this friend's house. A friend came to pick us up and take us to another friend's house. So on our way home, we left that other friend's house. We drove. There's one junction. There was one junction on that road, which is basically, if you look at it as like a Y, from where the house the point we were traveling to, we were traveling up to like where a Y would split off. So you'd have, if you go to the left, you go to our house. If you go to the right, you go over to a different village. So we took that junction, and a car came up behind us, and really, really quick, and the next thing we know, we were back at the junction again. I've never been able to explain it. It was just literally, we were back at that junction again. And I said to my friend who was driving, I said, what's just happened? And my partner was like, what's going on? My mate went, I don't know, but let's go round again and see if we can figure it out. So we went back round, we carried on down, because we had to get home, and what happened, there was a car right up behind us. So instead of letting the car keep going behind us, this time my friend pulled over, and what happened, there was a car right behind him and another car coming down, and if he hadn't have pulled over, we'd literally be at the front of a 4-car pileup. That was bizarre, and it was like literally carried on that night, because we got back that night. My friend dropped myself and my partner off, and my house is like a long kind of corridor. There's one, you basically walk in, there's 2 rooms on your right hand side, there's stairs in front of you, and there's a door sort of under the stairs that leads out to the bathroom, and that's where the back door is. And I was stood by that door, and we let our dog out. The dog came in, running, and my partner was like, oh, do you want your food? And give her a stroke, give her a treat. She ran into the lounge. And I was stood by the radiator. I was stood by the only exit to that room for the back door. And we carried on talking. The next thing I know, the dog ran in again. And my partner did the exact same thing, and the dog ran into the next room. It was just like, it happened on repeat. It was the most weird experience. Well, I would say it was the most weird experience I've ever had, because we've had some weird experiences.
Yeah, that's not even.
I couldn't rank them.
Yeah, I got a question for you, Dawn, if you don't mind, because when I first joined in the church, one of the things I was told I could do, and I didn't really know I could do, was see auras, and I can see yours. And I'm just wondering, obviously before the pandemic, has it made a big difference in your life, this taking the reins of who you feel like you truly are?
Oh, absolutely. It transformed me inside and out. Now I know that I'm in my purpose, and I was denying my purpose for decades. I should have been in it decades ago, and I kept denying it. And now I feel completely transformed. So if you can see aura, what do you see? What colors?
I can see you've got 3 distinct colors, right? And it emanating. You've got golden, right? And then you've got a very bright white fading into blue. But the closest one to you is like a golden color. And that is just like, normally when I see a golden color, I know someone's quite at peace with who they are. But I feel like with the blue is more, it's more like the edge of the transition, I feel. Because I don't know if I'm right in saying this, but I feel like the dawn before this happened was quite, I think you had a bit of struggle with these two elements of your life, working, as you said, in business and believing in what you do. And I think that's what's at the very edge of your aura. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. I struggled through life tremendously. I was such a depressed child. I understand if the people that went through self-sabotaging behaviors, I had them all. This world hurt me. I would look around and see people hurting each other and cutting people down, and it tore me down. I was so shy in school that any form of abuse, and you know how abusive children are with one another, it would just tear me up to watch people bully other kids. I wanted no part of it. I wanted no part of this life. I was suicidal. I tried everything to kill myself for many years. I would deny, and I would see so much around people, and I would see their intention, and their intentions were not pure, and I can see through that. And so it was a struggle for many, many years. And that's why I reach out to people and say, I can help you. My life is absolutely transformed in such a positive way in the past decade, that all the shackles and chains that other people sewed into me as a child, just from watching them, it wasn't their intention, but as children, we're dry sponges. We absorb everything and we take it how our mind's going to take it. Not even with their intention, but just how it latches onto us. And those words and those actions were the most powerful thing to me. Words are the most powerful thing to man. They drove me for years. They led me. I believed people, and when they said I was no good or non-beneficial, I believed that. And I think that's what we can take out of this, is there's so many people that are watching and that are going to watch in the future, that, you can reprogram yourself. And just for yourself now, if I was watching this and saying, okay, what can I take out of this for myself now? You can reprogram yourself by powerful videos on YouTube. You can reach out to people like me that have that work with people individually and in groups to shift your mind and help you see through the light and through the falsities of the impressions and the fears and insecurities that you have taken on as your own, right? And really get it clear. Your mind is programmable, and it is so programmable, and you know that from the experiences that you're having and the feeling you've had when the pandemic hit. And we see it all the time with the news. You know how they'll say, oh my God, there's a burglar on the loose, or a just somebody that's doing heinous crimes. Everyone's talking about it, and now they're in fear, and they almost drive it into themselves. And I did that to myself for years. I drove in fear. Everything I feared happened to me. Every single thing that I didn't want to happen happened to me, because that's all I focused on. And then when it clicked and the light bulb came on, I realized, oh my gosh, I get to create my life however I want to create it. And I started working ferociously in self-programming, in hypnotherapy, and doing the immersions to shift. And my life has shifted in such a way. Definitely at peace. I know that was a long response.
No, I agree. I just want to quickly...
I can see it. that's what I wanted to ask. Sorry, Jazz. I could see it. That's why I wanted to ask, because I could see the transition in your aura, and I knew the Dawn from then and the Dawn now are almost different people. And that's why I was reading from your aura, and I just wanted to see, I just wanted to see if you'd be honest and open about it. And I'm glad you were. Thank you, Dawn.
And talking about the people watching, I just want to say a quick hello to people in the chat. So I want to say hello to Madney Lee, hello to Suzanne, hello to Garrick, hello to Nancy, hello to Dana, hello to Adrian, hello to Andrea, and hello to Paul and Amy K. Thank you guys for joining and watching. And if you have any questions you want to ask in the chat, now is the time to do so for the next little bit. And Solar Function, hello Solar Function, who says she's right. I used to be a mess because of my family. To the past, I accept myself as being a loving guy who has so much to give, even though I'm still a naughty old man now and then. Lol. We can all be naughty now and again.
You got to be a little bit, you can be naughty in a fun way. Yeah. I'm still, as much as I'm a tree-hugging being of love and light, which I try and promote with all my, I nearly rhymed them, with all my might. I still like to be a little bit silly and a little bit naughty and just be a bit boisterous. And you can, in the right context, you can. I worked with boys on the council. I was a doorman, so I was a bouncer, and I was a security guard. And, it's no good standing there when people want to stick a bottle over your head going, "Thou shalt be fine, all is well." It doesn't work, right? And you can be a little bit boisterous. You can talk to people. And I've been in opportunities where I've had to talk to millionaires, and I've been where I've had to talk to people who are as down to earth as they can be, and people from all classes and backgrounds. And that's the opportunity I've been given. And in that, I've it's given me so much back that I've had the chance to just understand that point of view. And this paranormal now we were talking about the other day, what is paranormal now, and how do we put it into a video, and how do we tell people what we're about? And we come to the same conclusion: it's love.
Yeah.
It's honesty, it's having the conversation, it's letting people have their say, it's not being judgmental. And because I did some research back in the day. I mean, back in the 90s, I was looking into stuff that people are only now talking about. About consciousness and how these people have done this and how the system has been created and everything else, and what they don't teach you in schools. I was having these conversations so long ago, and I got to be honest, when the pandemic broke for me, I was very bad, because I actually caught it on the same day it broke, which is just incredible timing. But I was kind of like, well, they've been on about this for a long time.
Yeah.
This certain set of scenarios being unfolded. Now, to me, it was an opportunity. And it was an opportunity for people to go, I don't like this system. I don't like class divide. I don't like the way this, us and them, and all of it. And it's given the world an opportunity to really look at it and to see the outcomes of what happens if we take that road. We've taken that road for so long, and none of it has ever worked. None of it. So this is a new road for us to take. This is an opportunity to take a new road, to listen to the people who are speaking about love. I'm not talking about things that were written in books long ago. I'm about real people who are alive today, who are talking about love and have an understanding of what it really means to guide us forward, that we can do it. And that's what I think, that is so important now, It's not about being lovey-dovey and having flowers in your hair and we're all standing around doing nursery rhymes and singing songs. It's about moving the world forward through all this disinformation and divide and nonsense and this control and having leaders and all this, and just we can get through it. There's more than enough of us to make this work with our intent. And with pure love intent, you cannot go wrong. So, I mean, you know, there's just so much we can achieve. And the fact that you've come on your Dawn, and that we are trying to build a community, and the more we have people on, the more it gives me hope that the right people are out there to have that connection with. And do you know what I mean? It's just that we seem to be gravitating towards the right people at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
It's just happening. It's just guidance.
Yep, it's naturally happening like a light magnet. You know, pure, beautiful consciousness is just pulling everyone together that truly wish and want unconditional love and peace for everyone. And that is exactly what inspired, you know, we put up in the link Spirit Energy Center. I cultivated that, and we've got healers from around the world. And within, I don't know, 5 or 6 short weeks, there's 1,300 people there, and healers that are sharing their experience and signed up in mentorship to help mentor others that feel lost and are trying to tune into their gifts of what they're feeling and how they can help and how they can elevate themselves to unconditional love and show them how energy works. They're saying, hey, let me take you under my arm and let me take you by the hand and let me just show you this is what I've experienced. Let me share my time and my education and my wisdom with you and help you shed light in your life now. And that's what we're doing. Free workshops, just complimentary workshops and healings and immersions. And please, y'all are welcome to let people know it's not all about the smoke and mirrors of money. Yes, we need finances to take care of our family as well, but we are here because we want to support you unconditionally, and here's a group to love you and come together. So I don't even know how Jared and I first connected. I know I'm just screaming on every platform that I can, trying to get people to.
You contacted me. You've seen a notice I put out, and you know, if you know of any other people who are doing this that want to connect with us, and we can help anyone, because the point of doing this as well is, you know, it helps us and it helps you. It's about helping each other and helping each other achieve our dreams and help each other achieve our understanding. And you know, a dream is that through the different means and tools that we've been given over the course of our respective journeys, that you know, we can offer something to people that is, you know, beneficial. And you're gonna see the times, you know, with us, with the people we have on the show, we're going to see different reflections of different times when we're all going through these things. And it's about authenticity. It's about being open, honest, and authentic, and showing that side of our souls, that side of who we are. And I think it's, you know, like I said earlier, there's such a juxtaposition of where love is in the world at the moment, so where it should be. And as you said, when you bring in expectation, that's when you invite the deception. Because we often want to know the end of the story before we get to the beginning. A lot of us go through life wanting to skip to the end of the book to see if it was worth reading. We don't realise that we've all got to live it. And by sharing in that experience of living it is powerful. And it took me a long time to realise that personally. And probably to Richard's chagrin, to be honest with you.
Right. Absolutely. So I know that you said that we close, around an hour, and I was wondering if we can do a different style close where actually I seal this tape, and we seal this with unconditional love, and I lead us into an immersion so that all of the people that view this in the future will actually feel the power of the immersion and the healing love and the intention, and be healed and freed as well from any angst that is clutching their mind and their heart. Can we do that?
Yeah, of course we can. I just want to drop
Yeah.
a thought in. Someone's just messaged on the chat. Messenger Guardian. If you do want to, I know something you're talking about. I can't bring that up now about a show or something you're involved in. But if you could drop us an email to paranormalnow@outlook.com, that would be fantastic. Dawn, if you would like to take us through an immersion or some sort of a closing meditation, that would be fantastic. I would be very much up for that.
Wonderful. So to begin, I just want you, and those of you watching, you all to close your eyes and take a couple deep breaths in, just slow and relaxed, being aware of the new oxygen that you're taking in and releasing. The healing celestial force, that beautiful oxygen. Allow yourself a couple more breaths out slowly. That's it, just be relaxing. Breath in and out. Right now, I'm drawing in and asking for the energy of unconditional love to come in and seal each person in their personal cocoon, giving you healing, an opening of wisdom, freedom of exploration, and a release of any energies that weigh you down and are trying to prevent you from moving forward. I give you a release now into unconditional love and an opening into your higher consciousness and awareness. Just receive that now. In your heart, say thank you. Know that the universe is here in abundance to love and adore you. Receive that. Then you can go ahead and open your eyes. Come back to. And just know that healing has transformed just rapidly. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Do any of you guys know the relevance of roses? Different color roses. I just as you took us through that, and I saw a yellow rose. And yellow rose has a particular significance to me personally. But then I got handed a red rose because I was focusing on the yellow rose, and I was like, I don't want to leave this yellow rose. But then it was like I was given a red rose, then a white rose, and then like a purple type rose. And normally roses with me, it's not something I generally tend to sort of identify with, but it just felt right. I have to look at the significance of roses. I'm not entirely sure what they are off the top of my head, but that was kind of cool. Thank you for that, Dawn.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, That was nice, actually. I like that one.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I like that type of meditation. It just reaffirms. We get enough. With life, you can have enough doubt put on you from all corners, and to just that reaffirming energy. And I hope that we start to see these schools and these groups and these communities where we use this in use this energy and this knowledge, and I think there's so much potential for it. There's just so much potential for having the conversations or not have fears of death, and being able to talk in our grief and talk in if we're lost, and it's just, I think it's just so important right now, guys. And this information that you've just given us, Dawn, from what you've experienced and what we're trying to do with this and everybody we've connected with. I hope they just keep putting that out there, and I think this will win more than anything we've seen before.
I agree.
Absolutely.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Rising up. Thank you.
Dawn, I want to thank you for coming on the show. It's been absolutely brilliant, and I just knew today that this was the right time. And thank you for your patience with us as well, because it has been a turbulent ride getting here, but it was well worth it. Very much well worth it.
Mm-hmm.
It was. Is there anything else that any of you guys would like to say before we end today's show?
Well, thank you both, and to the audience, I love you all. You're amazing. We love you. I love you. And you're just wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, I can say, for you guys watching, thank you very, very much. Please give this video a share. I don't often say like, share and subscribe anymore. We do now and again. But this one, I really do feel it, because it feels like this information that Dawn is putting out does definitely need to get out there more. And thank you everyone for tuning in and watching. Honest to God, we absolutely love you all. We do. You are brilliant. You have been brilliant for myself and Richard, and for every guest that's come on this show. And it's been an absolute privilege. Rich?
Yeah, sorry, I got kicked off the internet then. I don't know if I tried to stay still so I wouldn't look like I was gone anyway. I was like, don't move.
Ever since you said about being a big kid, I've got that quote from Monty Python. Was it? He's not the Messiah. He's just a naughty boy. Thank you, Dawn. Thank you, guys. As always, I love the people that come on and comment on this channel. I have loved them. When we first started, and we were like, shall we do something with YouTube, and shall we put it out there? And am I gone again? No, you're still there. We're still with us. Keep going. Hello? Hello? No, I think we might have actually lost Richard. Dawn, are you still with us?
I'm still here.
Yeah, I think it's an issue on Richard's end. I just want to quickly say thank you to those in the chat as we see if we can get Richard back. Thank you to Suzanne. Thank you to Garrick. Thank you to Messenger Guardian. Thank you to Madney Lee. Thank you to all of you. Right, guys, we'll try and connect back in with Richard, but what we'll do, we'll bring this to an end. You can't see me here. We'll bring this to an end for tonight's show, but thank you guys so much, and we'll see you very soon in the next video. Take care.